Today, we're going to talk about a single misspelled word, a word that somehow became the battle cry for an entire global movement. We are diving deep into the powerful, the fascinating, and yeah, sometimes the infuriating psychology of the HODL.
Okay, so let's start with a little thought experiment. I want you to picture this. The year is 2010. The internet just feels different. And crypto, it's this tiny, weird corner of the web that almost nobody has even heard of yet. And then, out of the blue, someone gives you a gift. It's just a small digital file, but inside that file, exactly 100 bitcoins. Now, back then, you probably would have just laughed, right? I mean, the whole thing was worth less than $1. It was just a novelty, a curiosity. But today, hoo boy, that same little gift could have made you a multimillionaire. So, here it is, the million-dollar question, and I mean that literally. As you watch the price just go wild, bouncing from $1 to 10 to 100 to 1,000, would you have sold or would you have held on? Be honest. It's so much harder than it sounds. And that internal struggle, well, that is right at the heart of what we're talking about today. So what exactly is hodling? Well, it turns out it's way more than just a typo. See, to hodl isn't a passive thing. It's an active choice. It's this deep-seated, almost philosophical belief in the future of crypto. It's become a badge of honor, really, a public declaration that you have conviction in the face of absolute chaos. And from a psychological standpoint, this is where things get really, really interesting. Holding is basically a constant war going on inside your own brain. It's a rational decision fighting against our most irrational, primal human instincts. The conflict is pretty simple, right? Your rational brain looks at the charts and it says, hey, look, history shows that patience is paid off here. But your irrational brain, your gut, is just screaming. We are just not wired to watch our net worth swing up or down 30% in a day and just do nothing. And at the core of all this panic is a very real principle called loss aversion. Behavioral economists have actually proven that the pain of losing, say, $100, feels about twice as bad as the pleasure you get from gaining $100. Now, just imagine that feeling magnified to the extreme by crypto's volatility. It makes hodling incredibly difficult. And yet, somehow, the true hodlers, they manage to do something remarkable. They totally flip this psychological script. To them, volatility isn't a threat. It's just part of the ride. They see a massive market dip not as a disaster, but as a discount. That conviction becomes their armor.
But here's the thing. Hodlers almost never do this alone. A huge part of their psychological strength comes from the community, from the tribe of what they call diamond hands. This tribe has its own lingo, its own code of honor. If you hold on through the absolute chaos, you're celebrated. You have diamond hands. But if you sell at the first sign of trouble, oh, you get mocked for having paper hands. It creates this really powerful social dynamic. So you see, it's not just about profit and loss anymore, it becomes about your identity. Being a part of the Diamond Hands tribe creates this shared sense of purpose that makes it way easier to stand up to that fear.
And if you dig even deeper, holding stops being just a financial strategy. It really evolves into a kind of training for psychological resilience. Now, this might sound a little weird, but think about it for a second. Some people in the community actually compare the act of hodling to a form of meditation, a practice for mastering your own emotional state. I mean, the process is pretty similar, right? First, you just observe the emotions, the fear, the greed, as they rise and fall inside you. Then, you learn to detach from the panic, to not let it control you. You refuse to act on that impulse. And finally, you choose to trust your long-term conviction over all that short-term chaos. It's a mental game. So when you boil it all down, that's what it is. It's about choosing conviction over chaos. And let's be perfectly 100% clear here, this is not some guaranteed path to getting rich. Not every project is going to make it, and blind faith without critical thinking is just, well, it's just gambling. It can, and often does, lead to ruin. But whether it succeeds or fails for any single person, the act of hodling, the idea of it, that represents the defining spirit of the whole crypto movement. It's a fundamental bet on a future that most of the world either doesn't understand or simply doesn't believe in, at least not yet. So when the markets are tumbling and all the headlines are screaming doom and gloom, just remember that somewhere out there a true hodler is sitting calmly, trusting their conviction, and probably whispering 4 simple, immortal words, I will not sell. It's a question of psychology as much as it is finance. In the face of chaos, what will you do?